For those of you who are just joining us, this is our academic focus open house virtual version. The event is being recorded and will be available on our website. This is our arts department who is joining us tonight. Thank you for being with us after being with students all day and anticipating being with students tomorrow morning. And for those of you who are in the audience, you will be able to ask your questions in the chat after the arts faculty is done giving some explanations. Then we'll be able to address the questions that you placed in the chat. So thank you, and I'm going to hand off the microphone to Elizabeth Gibbs, who is the department chair.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. So we're just going to start by quickly going around and introducing ourselves, the arts faculty who are here, and then we'll tell you a little bit about what we do, and there will be space for some questions. So I'll start. I'm Elizabeth. I'm the upper school arts chair, and I also teach all the theatrical performance classes and direct all the theater productions. I'm going to pass it over to Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm the digital arts teacher in the upper schools. I teach things like audio engineering, video production, photography, and also songwriting with Judy. And I'll pass it to Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy. I'm working on my audio or video right here at this moment, but I am the upper school music teacher and teaching chamber music, songwriting, and recording with the amazing Matt Woodard, and also choir as well, and rock band. And I'm going to pass it to the fabulous Mia.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. My name is Mia. I am the technical aspect to Elizabeth's dramatic portion in our theater program. And I also have the enjoyment of teaching a couple of visual arts classes, such as jewelry making and sewing and weaving. Take it away, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I teach, this year I'm teaching drawing and design studio in the honors portfolio class, which is the 11th and 12th grade sections for students who want to build portfolios for either college apps or for enrichment. And I also teach a lot of other things that I'm just not doing this year. So yeah.
I'll also add that we have 3 teachers who teach one class in the upper school. They primarily teach in the middle school. They may drop in today, but they also might not be available to do so. Phil Robinson teaches ceramics, Alex Juarez teaches jazz band, and Kit Camp teaches woodshop. So we have a wide breadth of expertise and people who are working in our department. So we have for you a little video that tells a little bit about our department and what we do, and Matt has put that together for us. So I'm going to pass it over to Matt to have him share that with you all.
I think definitely what I've valued the most about my CGS arts education has been the community. Every theater production that I've done from freshman year till now my senior year, I've just felt so supported and heard and validated by everyone in the casting crew. I remember coming into Catlin as a freshman and not really knowing anybody. I was new and I didn't really feel comfortable anywhere just yet, but as soon as I walked into the theater to do Macbeth, I did feel comfortable because I knew that there were people who were going to run lines with me, who could give me rides home from rehearsal, who would be able to laugh with me backstage.
In the Catlin Gabel Arts Department, students learn skills and methodologies and hone their craft while exploring new avenues and new ways to do things, all the while stretching their own ability to be creative and finding new avenues to self-discovery and finding ways to express themselves that they may not have had access to before.
During my time in the Catlin Gabel Arts program, I've spent most of it doing performing theater and also theater tech. So I've really gotten to kind of see both sides of that, and what I really appreciate about it is just kind of the community that gets built up around theater, you know, both backstage with, you know, working on stuff and building stuff, and, you know, on the stage with running lines and doing performances and just the camaraderie that comes with all of that.
We believe that the most impactful learning comes through the process of creation and the process of creating art and learning new things, and that any products that result from this work are, be they finished podcasts or plays, concerts, a gallery show, that these are all fantastic byproducts that reflect the creative process undertaken to achieve them.
And I really enjoy, when I'm working in theater tech, I get to build something and then either, watch it be performed on by someone else or perform on it myself and just see how it kind of works in that setting.
Overall, my art experiences at Catlin has been really great. I've loved all my teachers, and in the high school specifically, the two teachers that make the biggest impact on me were Chris and Matt. In art, especially because it's kind of a hard thing to do if you feel like you're not as experienced as other people, it's really helpful to have a teacher that's really encouraging and is sort of like, even if it doesn't look as good as this famous artist or maybe, someone next to you who's more experienced with art, it's still your work and it still is, I guess, kind of like a piece of your identity that you're putting out into the world. I think the class that's impacted me the most is photography, which is partially because I'm already interested in photography. I really enjoy taking photos, but also because I think Matt was just a really good teacher. I'd taken pictures with my family camera, but I didn't know anything about, editing, aperture, shutter speed, exposure, how any of that stuff could affect the photo. Now I can take that and use it in all the future photos that I take. That experience has been great for me because it's allowed me to learn more about how to express myself through photography.
Catlin Gabel's dedication to the arts is such that we are privileged to have a fantastic space at our disposal, the new Creative Arts Center. The middle school and upper school share this space, and it includes visual arts classrooms, music classrooms, drama classrooms, in addition to a digital music lab, a student gallery space, and a fully equipped black box theater. This is in addition to our existing ceramics and woodshop studios, our 3D art studio, and our larger proscenium theater space. We offer a wide variety of courses for students to choose from. They're ever evolving, responding to student interest and instructor passion, and they encompass, although are not limited to, such things as ceramics, painting, podcasting, digital media arts, theater tech, improvisational theater, rock band, choir, and an ever-evolving slate of possibilities. And students have the opportunity to showcase their work throughout the year in a variety of concerts, plays, gallery shows, and sometimes off-campus gigs as well.
One thing I also really like about my current art class now, which is honors portfolio, because we kind of we get a prompt and then we can sort of go about it or interpret it how we want it to. So overall, my art experience at Catlin has been great, and what's been really valuable has been just everything I've learned from both Matt and Chris. Just that I have the freedom to interpret things how I want to and express myself more, which has been really cool.
Theater was the first place at Catlin that I felt really like I belonged, and I feel like that is so true of the arts community at Catlin, whether that's through music, art, dance, theater. It really is a place for everybody.
Thank you, Matt. We just also wanted to take a little moment after that overview of our program to give a specific example of some of the kinds of things that we do that speak to the tenets of progressive ed and the kind of school that we are. And specifically, I think Matt and Judy, we're going to share a little bit about the songwriting class that they're co-teaching right now and some recent experiences they've had with students in that room.
Right. Hi, I'm Judy. I'll begin. Just this very morning, we had a guest artist in our class, and we had a master class, which we call our first of the year, which we're very excited about. We had Portland pianist Maria Choban with us, and then we had some students doing presentation as far as sharing songs with her, and it was, I think, probably the second best day of class and collaboration. But I think the amazing part about the day and what was, I should say, and the feedback loop and all of that was that the students were just so comfortable giving feedback, and that they were willing to play their songs but then be vulnerable, and but also be receptive to that collaborative vibe. I think that which we've set that tone as are musicians and composers ourselves, but I think just that modeling of that. And so I think we have been, I should say, constantly, at least I'll speak for myself, Matt, impressed by the level of collaboration with the students. Matt, you want to join in at any time?
Yeah, sure. One thing that we pride ourselves on in Catlin is making students part of that experience. Part of one tenet we stand by is educating for democracy. So making students part of the classroom environment in terms of not just being there, but shaping the flow, shaping that collaboration. And this year, I agree, Judy, it has been really encouraging to see students. We've done some fostering of that environment, but they've jumped in and really made this class their own in terms of the direction that they want to go, the content they want to cover, the skills that they want to master. They've been co-creators with us in kind of determining the path for the class that they want to take based on what they feel is valuable for their own experience. And it's been really great collaborating with Judy as well. Both of us have overlap in our background as composers, but we also have separate skill sets, separate styles of music that we're into. And that has been really fun to have that collaboration, and then also to kind of put kids in situations where they have no choice but to collaborate and see the fruits of that has been really fun.
Thank you both. I see that we have Alex and Phil with us now, so I'll take a moment if you two would just say hi, introduce yourself, and share what you teach.
Good evening. I'm Alex Juarez. I am the middle school music teacher, but I also teach jazz band at the upper school. And I'll pass it over to Phil.
Thank you, Alex. Good evening. My name is Philip Robinson. I teach the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade fine art curriculum in the middle school and the ceramics course at the upper school.
Thank you. Well, I think we're available for questions now, if there are any from the group.
Yes, there were a few questions that came in. This one is for the musicians in the room. Where does a student who is already a violinist, plays in MYS, and a classical composer, find a home in the Catlin Gabel curriculum, the Catlin Gabel classes?
They would find that if in chamber music, and right now chamber music is a small group, and I believe it's probably varied throughout the years here, but it varies from pianists who are been studying classical for a while. We have 2 violinists at the present who are both in PYP or Pike. One is in PICO, one is in PYP, and just various experiences, but generally speaking, playing chamber, a lot of chamber pieces. And right now I have a few of my students also arranging pieces of music for the group.
Thank you, Judy. This one's a broader question, which I suspect Elizabeth will choose to respond, but you can all chime in. When do we plan electives for the coming year? And then if kids want to take a specific one, how do they plan it out in terms of the 4 years that they'll be enrolled, assuming that they start in 9th grade?
Yeah, so we start planning we're always planning what classes we're going to teach, but our catalog comes out in the spring, usually kind of at the end of March, early April, and then students have about a month to consider the catalog, consult with their current arts teacher, talk to their advisors, their parents, and see what might be a good fit. Students always have the opportunity to put several ranked choices for what arts elective they might want to take, so that if their first choice doesn't fit in their schedule, they have some backup options. We have in each of our kind of different disciplines, visual art, performance, what we would consider to be kind of entry-level courses. Some of our courses are available to any student who wants to take it, senior or 9th grader, and some are best suited for kids who maybe haven't had any experience in the discipline before, and they're good entry points. And then sometimes they can level up to more difficult or complicated courses if that discipline is really exciting to them, or they can choose to take, say, a semester of drawing, a semester of choir, a semester of sewing, and kind of do a sampler situation, but either option is available. We encourage students to, start when they're 9th graders if they'd like to, so if they get bitten by something and excited, they have time and breadth to really explore that. But at any point in their high school career, students can can jump in and try something in the arts department. We have a breadth of options, and our options are always changing. There might be something that we're not offering a specific year and we'll offer again the next year for a variety of reasons. We all want to teach many, many more things than we actually have space to do. Does anyone else have anything you want to add to that?
Maybe I'll ask a question from your role as advisors. How do you advise students who are finding their way and they may not have a 4-year plan? And so they may enter as 9th graders and they say, okay, well, this year I'm going to do theater tech. And then in the spring of 10th grade, the course catalog comes out. What do you do as an advisor?
Well, I'll say that what I do also as a teacher and as an advisor is I always advise students to talk to their current arts teacher and get some suggestions for what might be a good bridge, or they can talk more about their interests, what they're finding compelling about their current class, what else they're interested in, and then they can offer suggestions, or that we're all available too. If any advisor doesn't know quite which direction to point their student, they can send them to one of us and we'll help kind of sort through the options and help them find a good fit.
Thanks, Elizabeth. The only thing that I would add to that, which may be obvious to all of you, is that students change a lot between 9th grade and 12th grade. And so sometimes they come in and they think they have a 4-year trajectory and then they discover something. And the beauty of our program is that there's room for discovery, and that will support them in that discovery and then changing their path. They don't have to commit to 4 years of something when they come into the 9th grade. So there's a specific question about what instruments are played in the jazz band, and then what opportunities for other instrumental play are there at the school outside of the curriculum. Alex, I'll point to you to answer the question about the instruments.
Yeah, specifically for jazz band, we've opened it up to pretty much any instrumentation. I think today we had an accordion, we had a flute, and we had some non-percussive instruments. So it's not really in terms of like your standard instruments where you think saxophones, trombones, trumpets, guitar, drum, piano. It's really more about the process that are involved. So they mainly revolve around improvisation and then playing different styles of music. So yeah, and there doesn't have to be a background in jazz for a student to take jazz. And so that we really want to open up a lot of our instrumental courses and kind of start breaking some of those, I guess, labels that generally come with some of the courses, like, oh, this instrument belongs in this course and this instrument belongs in this other course. We want the students, again, give them ways to discover the different mediums. So.
Thank you, Alex.
I guess can I piggyback on that?
Go ahead, Judy.
Oh, I just real quick. Thank you, Alex, for saying that, as it's really important, and especially also in rock band as well. We are just varying as far as genres are concerned, and just really we're thinking actually about changing, just instead of having specific rock band and specific jazz band to maybe lab band. Just so kids can, and that might be down the road, but those are some iterations that we're talking about as far as instrumentation and kind of changing the norm.
Thank you, Judy, for complimenting that answer. Chris, I'm going to ask you this question. There's a question about how much art is required at Catlin Gabel, and I'll just quickly say it's a 2-year requirement, and many students do more than 2 years. But the more interesting question or broader question is, what opportunities to do art do students have, visual or otherwise, outside of the context of the requirements or the courses that they're taking, and still maintain a reasonable schedule?
Thanks, Celine. So, I'll say that, my door is always open in the art studio in the upper school, and it's not uncommon for students to come in during lunch or come in during free blocks or come in after school and be in there to make things. I think in terms of requirements, it's not uncommon for students to go over the kind of baseline requirements. I think for a lot of students in the upper school, they're hitting requirements and then finding different focus, right? Like just during their high school career. But for the kids that I work with that seem to be really into making art and want to keep pushing things, it seems like there's always opportunity for students to do more than that requirement. So I think that if students are interested in pursuing things that are even outside of what the course offerings are, like there was a question in the thread here about architecture, it's also not uncommon for students to come to all of us with interests that might lie outside of our classes. And I don't want to speak for everyone here, but I would say that we're all really good about trying to meet students where they are and helping them find their way. So I think that's what I would say about that.
Go
Could
ahead,
I
Matt.
piggyback on that? Yeah. Also, there's clubs that focus on arts as well. Right now, there's a filmmaking club that they've titled themselves Movie Making Bonanza, and I advise that club. And right now, I think there's 18 kids in the club, and they're just there because they want to be there. They're writing scripts, they're acting, they're doing staging, they're creating props. They have a costume department, and this is completely student led. I'm in the room, and I'm just a cheerleader. So they've got some kids that have just been doing this for a while and they have experience and they just want to share that. But that also gives them access, since I'm their advisor, to all the equipment that we have in the digital media arts department. So they have cameras, they have microphones, they have equipment that they can access. And so that's another opportunity that they would have outside of class.
I'll also add that in the current model, we have 2 classes that meet outside of the normal school day. So choir meets before school, and CG Players, which is our performance troupe that puts on the plays, meets after school. So those are some opportunities that some students take advantage of if they're very busy during the school day to still get their art fix.
And I'll add one more to that, and that is that we are members, Catlin Gabel is a member of the Global Online Academy, and there are some specific classes that the Global Online Academy offers that help students scratch an itch of something they may be interested in. That's in all disciplines, and there is specifically an architecture class in the Global Online Academy. And the last thing that I'll add is that Chris has co-taught classes with the science department, with teachers in the science department. And sometimes those classes have been an intersection that would support someone pursuing architecture, because there's elements of engineering and physics in that.
I'd like to hop onto that one too, because I see Mary just posted something that's theater behind the scenes, but I also want to say in the technical theater classes, they're drafting in scale and doing a lot of model making as well as part of getting their thoughts for theatrical design out. But that's very elemental. Every architect needs those model making skills, and they're having a lot of fun with it. Talking about theater classes and opportunities for kids who'd rather be behind the scenes, you just named me. I loved being backstage. So we have kids that are designing lighting and sound for our upcoming production. And again, some of the older kids who have some more experience are working with some of the other younger students to help bring them up with some base level skills to get that fire lit. And then hopefully that will transfer into them doing some more design as well. We do invite the entire community, faculty, staff, parents, little sisters, dogs, if they'd let me, to come to set builds, which we just enjoy the day together and get our sets ready for our productions, which can involve all sorts of things from carpentry to rigging to basic construction and painting and all sorts of fun stuff like that, which we enjoy. So with the 3 shows that we pretty much do every year, the upper school drama has usually a pretty basic set, and then the winter musical gets a little bit more involved. Those kids are pushing scenery around and running light cues and doing all those kinds of things and learning how to do front of house, learning how to do marketing. And then in the spring, we do student written, directed, and produced one-act festival, which really allows them to get their chops in. So lots of opportunities for kids backstage.
Thank you, Mia. I like that little role of everybody adding. Does anybody want to add anything? We don't have any new questions in the chat. Oh, here's one. How do Catlin Gabel staff encourage kids who don't feel like the arts are for them? Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I can answer that. And good evening, everybody. My apologies for being a little bit late. So within the discipline, it's important, especially we're working with Chris across from me in the CAC. It's important for our students to experiment with different mediums. And in part, for a lot of them, they come to me in the ceramics department because they're really interested in doing ceramics, and then get up against a wall when they realize that it takes more than just a week or 2 weeks to understand certain dynamics of the medium, right? And so the important thing for them is really to learn the problem solving skills they'll need for moving on, right? And so through each of the arts disciplines, what we're all dealing with, in a sense, is problem solving. How do I manipulate the material of clay to make what I want to make? How do I learn how to utilize the wheel to, realize my series or my aesthetic? And for a lot of students that come to us with portfolio ideas, sometimes it's to take a step back and realize, okay, where am I trying to go? What direction am I trying to go in? And then for us to help them push that direction. Like, maybe you're not into drawing or 2D works. Maybe you're more of a 3D artist and you're into foam, or you're into clay, or you're into wood. And so what's great here about Catlin is that we have all these different entities that students can really start to develop and try and see what works. And the same thing with everything else. You put stuff on the wall and see what sticks. So it's really about trying all of the areas so that when they move on to the collegiate level, that they really have a good understanding of the medium and the tools to create, and they can really focus on the creativity.
I'd like to jump on what, hi, Phil. I'd like to jump on what Phil had to say too, because I often, as the technical theater teacher, am the safe art class somehow. I'm not really sure why, but sometimes I am. And I think one of the things that I've seen all of my colleagues do is that we take whatever medium it is that we're teaching and really get to know our students and find out what they're interested in. And I somehow get the entire baseball team every now and then, and there's just lots of wonderful ways to unite our art with baseball. So a lot of the times the kids coming in feel unsure of themselves, that I'm not an artist, and they discover that that it's in there, you just haven't played with it yet. So I think by this wonderful opportunity that we have because of our class sizes and just the way that the flow of the campus moves, we get to know our students pretty well. And we have opportunities to help hook them in and find something that they may not realize that they were going to enjoy.
I absolutely agree with that. And in context, I get the basketball and volleyball players, and they realize that they're actually really good with their hands. So they're are able to really solve that puzzle of clay and how to manipulate things with their hands a lot easier than those that are not used to using their hands on a full-time job. So it's interesting how that works. Absolutely.
We have about a minute and a half before we transition into another discipline. I'm going to ask this question, and I think I'm going to ask Chris to respond to it. And that is, do some of our graduates, many of our graduates, do they go to art school?
Yeah, we have a number of students every year that are applying either for ART schools, like specific art and design schools, and that echoes the architecture question that came up before. I've worked with students that are applying to architecture schools, even though those programs don't always require portfolios. But a number of students in the honors portfolio class are applying to art and design programs specifically, or then submitting supplement portfolios as part of larger applications. And that could look like liberal arts schools and bigger universities and colleges. But I would say out of the 15 or so students every year in the honors class, on average, I'd say between maybe 3 and 6, 3 to 6 students leave and go specifically into an arts program or an art school.
Thank you, Chris. We're going to close our art section of the evening for now. Thank you to the art teachers for joining us and spending some of the evening with us. We hope that the answers that the audience has asked were answered for you, but if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us.